pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda tonight, we have approval of the minutes from August 19th, 2014. Can I have a motion to introduce those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on these? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes from August 19th, 2014, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the president votes aye. Okay, Mr. Creamer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the County Council. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin. First, Mr. Strasburg asked me to express his apologies for not being able to be at the meeting this evening. He is in Baltimore on a family matter that's of importance. Could not be here tonight. In addition, a resolution number 117, 2014, at the end of your legislative agenda regarding the power purchase agreement with Solar City Corporation is off the legislative agenda for this evening and moved to an open work session this evening after the work session with the Wycomico Housing Authority.
Mr. Kramer, may I ask a question about that? Do you mind, Mr. President? The resolution says that there's going to be a public hearing on this resolution, or I'm not sure on the resolution, a public hearing October 7th to consider the site locations for the installation. Is that a public hearing before this council?
So
It is, at 6:30.
But that may depend on the outcome of the work session, too, as far as
Okay.
the date's concerned.
Okay, thank you. So it hasn't been advertised yet, in other words?
I believe it has been advertised for October 16th, is my understanding.
16th
It had to
is-
be changed due to guidelines and advertising.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Moving on then, Mr. Strasburg was intending to give the County Council an update along with Dr. Hoy and Ms. Ruth Baker from Warwick Community College. If you recall, when you discussed this last, Dr. Hoy was not able to be present, and Mr. Strasburg asked Dr. Hoy and Ms. Baker to come back in and give Council a reaffirmation as to the adult education program, which will soon be underway with Warwick. And our Director of the Library, Andrea Bressler, is here this evening as well, because the adult education program will be in the former space occupied by the Eastern Shore Regional Library. So if you will allow these folks to approach the council, I believe there's a PowerPoint presentation.
Sure.
I didn't mean not to introduce Dr. Capelli. I don't know if he's here for moral support or part of the presentation.
I'll do a quick intro. We had intended for Wayne to do a bit of an intro, but understanding that he had to be out of town this evening, I thought I would introduce the topic and then let Ruth, who her department manages this program, let her give you the complete overview. Just to give you a little background before her presentation, we have received a grant from the Maryland Department of Labor Licensing Regulation. The total grant is for $421,266. Just to let you know, and this was part of the budget conversations that we had earlier in the year, only 5% of the grant can be spent on administration, which causes quite a challenge for us due to the size of this grant, because the administrator that we have to hire, required position in the grant, that position with benefits and everything else is in excess of that. We ended up having to spend $53,322 of that county allocation, the $100,000 that you provided to us for ABE, in the administration line because of the 5% stipulation. And then 40% of 2 new positions are dedicated to ABE, Adult Basic Education Support, within the institution. Again, think positions that could not be paid for under the grant. That totaled $48,350. So the non-grant paid expenses are actually about $107,715 that we've already paid or put into the budget for this year. And that doesn't include some of the indirect costs of Dean Baker's time and some of her additional staff in the Continuing Education and Workforce Development Division that we're dealing with as well. So that's before we add anything else into it. At the time that we submitted this grant, we hadn't had any conversations with Andrea. The library wasn't even under consideration at that point. So the additional $10,000 that is a concern is nowhere in our budget at the moment, obviously. That wasn't part of this whole thing. Should also let you know that the college has become a Pearson VUE testing center for GED testing. Used to be, as of up until last January, ABE testing, GED testing, could be done with pencil and paper. It's no longer allowed to be done that way. We had to become a certified Pearson VUE, somebody had to become a certified Pearson VUE testing center, and we stepped up and said we would do that. Dr. Capelli led that initiative to get us on board for that, so it was available in our community by like January 1st, actually had it done by December, didn't you, Steve? In case you need to speak, I'll share this with you. Here. Thank you. So the Pearson VUE testing center is up and running on campus. And what happens is students, individuals who are prepared to take the GED exam have to register directly through Pearson VUE. They contact us. We do most of that testing Friday nights and Saturdays.
That's correct.
And have our staff there to work with them during that period of time. About a week ago, in conversations with George Kalermakis at the Wicomico Detention Center, we realized that testing and assessment for inmates could be an issue. And Steve has taken on the task of seeing if we can become certified to have a satellite testing center at the detention center and to provide that opportunity. And we found out that it is possible. We're working on that right now to provide that opportunity because we expect about 80 students at the detention center, 80 inmates taking the GED and other adult basic education courses. And for testing, we're hopeful that we'll be able to do it right there, that'll be an opportunity. But if they have to come to campus, again, if we're scheduling it on a Friday evening or a Saturday, that probably could be arranged. We'll work that out with the detention center as that works for them. And Ruth's probably going to talk about this, but we anticipate about 740 students this year in 72 different classes. We're going to have 2 full-time staff and about 28 part-time staff, for a total of 30 people we'll be employing for this program at this time. So that's kind of just a general overview. Why don't we let Ruth share her PowerPoint presentation, then if you have additional questions, all of us can, any or all of us can address those. And Andrea also has some information that she can share regarding the library space and how that's going to work.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you all for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about a program that we're very excited to have back at Warwick Community College. Go ahead, Andrea's going to be my slide. And thank you for your support in making that possible. Adult education is a program that has both federal and state funds allocated to it. And it really serves students with 2 goals. Students who, for whatever reason, haven't obtained that high school diploma and need a second chance to do that. And students who need help learning English so that they can be productive citizens at work, with their kids in school. Actually, if you could just go back for 1 minute, thanks. I wanted to briefly explain to you some of the different ways that folks can get that high school diploma, and those are the 4 bullets under number 1. The first 2 that you see, ABE and ASE, is the progression from basic literacy to being ready to take that GED test. And that's standard classroom instruction, culminating in hopefully taking and passing that GED exam, which is now online, as Dr. Hoy mentioned earlier. EDP, External Diploma, is an alternate program for folks who have accrued enough knowledge and life experience to be able to assemble a portfolio which is then assessed, and if it's deemed complete, then they are awarded a high school diploma on the basis of that portfolio. So it's a good opportunity for folks who maybe are a little older, have more life experience, or maybe just aren't very good at taking tests. It's another way for them to get that diploma. And I should add, too, that in the state of Maryland, it is a Maryland high school diploma that is awarded. There's no difference between, in the eyes of the state, what you would get if you graduated high school and what you would get if you were successful in this program. So it's not called a GED, it's called a high school diploma for anyone who goes through the program successfully. The Family Literacy Program is another offshoot. It resides at Shore Up, and it's a combined program with Shore Up, and Cherie can tell you much more about it than I can. It's a wonderful program where families with small children can get both parenting skills, can gain both parenting skills, and also do the instruction that they need to proceed toward their GED. And it's a very holistic, very high-quality program that we're proud to be part of. So those are the different roads to a high school diploma through this program. As you know, Warwick did manage the program 4 years ago, but it's a very different program now than when we had it. And there's really three big things that have changed. The first is that where the program used to reside at one location, the Adult Education Center right on Philip Morris by M&T Bank, some of you may have been familiar with that location. When Chesapeake took it over, and I give them a lot of credit for this, they took the program and spread it throughout the community. So that's a list of all the different places that adult education, both GED and ESL, English as a Second Language, classes are now being delivered in our county. And I think that's one of the reasons they were able to grow the program, because these are very accessible locations for our citizens. And now my understanding is there's virtually no wait list for services at this time, because pretty much anybody can find some place that works for them to take the class that they need. You can see Shore Up is down about midway through the list. That's that family literacy program that I just mentioned. And as Dr. Hoy mentioned earlier, we do offer year-round classes at the Wicomico Detention Center for those inmates, again, to get that second chance. All right, I mentioned growth. That's a second big change since we had the program 4 years ago. It really has mushroomed, and we're very excited to be able to serve so many more students. That unduplicated headcount, as you see, when we had the program for that year, was a little over 400, and it's over 750 students as of last year when at Chesapeake's last count. So we think that's a tremendous accomplishment. We give Chesapeake a lot of credit, and we're happy to be able to serve that many more students. But it's a challenge. And of course now, again, as Dr. Hoy mentioned, the GED test is no longer paper and pencil, it's now computer-based, which introduces a challenge for our students to not only learn the content, but to be proficient enough at the computer to be successful taking the test. So they have to know how to copy and paste, and they have to know how to keyboard. So this is something, honestly, it's growing pains for us, because you can see all those different locations don't necessarily have easy access to computers. But we're doing the best we can to try to help our students become computer literate so that they can be successful taking the test. And as Dr. Hoy also mentioned, we are at Warwick, a GED testing site, so that's a ready-made place for them to go to take the test. So those are the opportunities and challenges that we are dealing with as we move forward to take over this program. Matt mentioned it will soon be ongoing. Well, it actually has started. We've actually started classes. We have an intake process, and we've worked with about 388 potential students in that intake process, and we've already started a number of classes, and we'll be starting a lot more in the fall, because that's kind of the big push for this program. Dr. Hoy mentioned the different staff that we'll be working with. And I know all of you are interested, as are we at Warwick, on making sure that those students can take that next step on their life journey once they get that GED. And we're going to be very focused on helping them to find out what the opportunities are at Warwick or elsewhere for training and or degree opportunities that will help them not only get that degree but be successful in life. So we're going to be working with our Student Services Department. We're going to be visiting classrooms. We're going to be bringing them on campus and doing everything we can to make that a successful transition for our students. The other wonderful opportunity we're having this year is the space at the Wicomico Public Library, and we're so grateful that Andrea and her staff have stepped up. I'd like to show you a little picture of the space. Might be a little hard to see, but I want to explain to you how we're going to use that and the doors that it's going to open for us this year. First of all, you can see kind of in the middle, it's the area that's with the red outline that will be dedicated to adult education. Right in the middle there, there's a wonderful classroom that has AV capability, so that's just going to add another location for us to have our classes. And the library is an extremely accessible location for our population, so we think that's going to be a great place to have classes. Just to the right, below that red line is a computer lab. And I'm sure you can all understand why we're very excited about that potential. We're not going to be the only people using it, but we'll be able to book it for sessions that will help our students, again, learn those computer skills so they can be successful when they take the test. Just to the right of the classroom space, there's a small area that's going to be an office for the adult ed staff who have actually not had office space for at least the last year because Chesapeake lost the space that they had and were unable to find space. So the staff have been kind of winging it for the better part of a year. So for them to have a home is really going to be exciting for them. And then surrounding that is going to be centralized storage space for the files, the instructional supplies. It's going to provide a meeting and planning area for the teachers, which all of these things which now they do not have. So things are kind of spread all over the county. So this is going to bring everything in and allow them to be a lot more efficient, effective in their administration. And at the very top you see a table. That's going to be a space for that external diploma program, which is a one-on-one program, and Dollar actually requires that you have private space where the advisors can meet with their clients, and that's just going to be an ideal spot for that. So we're going to fully use the space. We're excited about the potential, and we're already going full blast and looking forward to accomplishing great things. And thank you again to the library for its partnership. That's my quick overview. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anyone might have about the program.
One of the things I'd like to add is that it's our focus, our intent here these people have made a commitment to bettering their lives by earning their high school diploma either through GED or the external diploma program or any of these mechanisms. And what we want to make sure is they just don't stop with that we have some skills training for them. Some will hopefully transition into credit coursework at the college. Others will transition into some of the other non-credit offerings, that skills-related offerings that will prepare people to move into the workforce in good-paying jobs for them. So we have certifications and licensures through both credit and non-credit program areas, and that relationship with our non-credit division and working jointly with our student service staff is a way that we can help these individuals who are working to better their lives improve it even more.
Dr. Hoy and everyone, just like to say that it truly is working to the benefit of the families, because just on tomorrow, I have 2 students that were in the family literacy program that will begin at Warwick Community College. So they're quite excited. They participated in the graduation ceremony that took place with Chesapeake, but now they're able to move forward into their respective fields. And they were quite excited today. They've been volunteering at the center, but they're ready to start their college courses. So it is working, and it's being very effective in the community.
That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing.
Any other comments or questions?
Just one last question for you. If you are having to use the detention center site or make it a satellite site, is there a cost associated with that?
Well, there's costs associated with everything. There
Sure.
really is.
And what does that look like?
I don't know if
Each
I'll let
test
Steve.
has a fee, and the students pay a certain fee, and we'll be able to use, depending on which way we go, if we have a satellite center where George and his staff provide the computers, we can use their computers and they'll just download it from our account to those computers. We can log into Pearson View, just like we do at our center. And it's not much of a cost for that, but we have to pay for the cost of the computer. I don't know if there's a break where the state will pays anything for inmates to take it or not. George and I haven't discussed that. We didn't get any further than, can we do it? I said, I gotta find out. Now that we know that we can do it, if we have what they call a mobile site, we would have to take our computers over there and take them home every time, because they can't. So we don't want a mobile site, we want to have the satellites.
So that means our IT people would have to get involved as well.
You know, it would just be just totally difficult.
So if you're, you have inmates that are taking this program and they get released during the middle of a program, you absorb them into the other program at the library?
Oh, sure, they can
That's-
move. That's the nice thing. The program is very flexible in terms of how people can move through it.
Okay.
So they'll be, if they are released and can transition into one of the other centers here in the county, then that'd be great and workable.
Okay.
We won't have to send them back to the detention center to
Yeah,
finish.
you might lose them.
If I could, the only thing I wanted to add from the library is that we're very excited about this very unique partnership. Colleges and libraries, colleges tend to have their own libraries, and Warwick has its virtual library, which is a very strong component. But for us to be able to provide this kind of space and this kind of accessibility is an opportunity that we just couldn't pass up. And there has been a great deal of excitement in the community as we go out and talk to people about the possibilities for what we could do in this education space. So much so that I asked Dr. Wilson, even here to be here from the Community Foundation, they've already come through with some grant money for us to be able to furnish this space. Seeing, as we do, the possibilities for what we could do in the community through this very unique but very practical and efficient partnership through these organizations.
Good. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for all your
Yep.
support.
Thank you so much.
Your help
Thank
with
you.
this program.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item for your consideration is Resolution Number 92, 2014, authorizing the county executive to submit an airport special grant application and accept a grant award in the amount of $300,000 from the Maryland Aviation Office of Regional Aviation Assistance, a subject which by this time is pretty familiar to all of you.
Can I have a motion to introduce Resolution 92-2014?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Is there any discussion on this?
No, but I think the public might want to know that we had quite an extensive work session on this with Mr. Bob Bryant at our last council meeting, and he's here now, so I wanted to say thank you. It was very good information.
Anything else? No? Okay. All in favor of Resolution 92-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the president votes aye.
Next item for your consideration is Resolution Number 112, 2014, at the request of the executive, approving a priority letter for the Maryland Department of Transportation's draft 2015 to 2020 Consolidated Transportation Grant Program.
Can I have a motion to introduce Resolution 112-2014?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this?
I just had one quick question in this, and it involved, I'm trying to go back, let's see, State Route 349, that's Nanticoke Road?
I'm sorry,
349,
349?
that's
Yes.
Nanticoke Road,
That is correct.
which goes from to the North Upper Ferry. You know, the state has just repaved a good portion of that, and yet we want them to do a feasibility study. Can you explain that a
Sure.
little bit more?
Lee Beecham, Public Works Director, Wycomico County. You'll notice they've paved up to the intersection of Crooked Oak Lane, where they're going to be doing some traffic signal improvements, or I'm sorry, traffic striping improvements, and then the long-term plan is to do a traffic signal there. We're probably 10 years out from that,
Okay.
but that's what they've been doing with the paving work that's been done.
Because it's much improved to travel on, I know that. And by the way, I just want to say thank you, because number of our county roads are much improved to
you.
travel on too, by the way.
Thank you for approving our budget and giving us the power to do that.
Lee, when these are submitted, is any consideration given to bike lanes? I know we have an excess amount of glass over at the landfill also, and couldn't that possibly be used for bike lanes? But wouldn't it be advantageous for us to put them in now, rather than put them in at a later date?
Sure. There's certainly some pros and cons to bike lanes. I'm a big fan of shared use lanes. The road surface is already there, and any road that's under 50-mile-an-hour speed limit can be used as a shared use. And you see the state highways starting to adopt that policy with many of their their secondary roads. And I certainly think that's something that we should look at in the future. Once you start to get into dedicated bike lanes, there is obviously some liability that the county would have then on facilities. Not only legal liability, but also maintenance liabilities then to start to maintain those roads. Whereas it's much easier for us to do a shared use application where we can just pave the surface and then do the striping as needed. So, but yes, in this plan, we do talk about item 4, which talks about Route 50 and Mount Herman Road. There's some pedestrian and cyclist improvements.
Right.
We've also got improvements on, where was the next one? State 675B, which is by State Boulevard. There's some improvements there. And then the Metropolitan Planning Organization is going to be doing a master plan on hiker-biker trails for countywide. And obviously, it talks about number 10, the Rails to Trails program, and there's several areas that we'd like to do Rails to Trail projects.
Is that actually being explored, the rails to trails from Salisbury to Hebron, or
Sure.
is it on the back burner right now?
It's certainly being explored. Obviously, it's a challenge to work with the railroad right-of-way, as we've seen with some other projects, but we certainly do try to keep pushing that project along wherever we can.
Good, thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to, if council members are finished.
I just have one question for him. With regards to number 11, US Route 50, the corridor study, I know oftentimes that we hear from the commissioners of Hebron and other persons as well. Have there been additional conversation or push to have this particular study done? Anything you've heard recently?
Well, sure. We do continue to push this study, and I think they're doing it more in breaking it off into smaller chunks. They're working now on White Low Road to look at that intersection, and right now I think the state's mentalities have kind of been breaking it up into smaller pieces to do that study. But yes, we would like to continue to push them to do a full-blown corridor study of Route 50.
Okay, but we haven't heard anything else from Hebron commissioners or
not to my
anybody in the
knowledge.
vicinity?
Not
Okay.
as of late.
Thank you.
And now we have a dinner with the State Department of Transportation the 16th of this month.
Yes.
So this is going to be presented to them at that time?
That's correct. We'll do a tour and the public hearing September 16th at 7 p.m. at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. And we'll certainly get a press release out about that for the public to attend that meeting.
Lee, you talked about the bike lanes on kind of secondary roads, but one of the sections in here, number 4, talks about converting one of the lanes on Route 50, kind of in front of Y High, I guess it is, to a dedicated bike lane on Route 50. Is that?
Yes, and that's something I believe we will be taking a look at, and we might even pull that back out of the letter.
Okay.
And that's really because now they've gone through and done the road diet on Mount Herman Road, and we've got a dedicated bike lane there on Mount Herman Road.
Okay.
So I think we can probably pull that back. And that would be the second bullet of item number 4.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to question, was just the, well, or just the thought of putting dedicated bike lanes on a major Route 50.
Sure, and that's, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where you see, a perfect example of that is Route 1 in Delaware between Fenwick and Dewey or Bethany Beach. That's got a dedicated bike lane and a pedestrian lane. And that works very well, but it is a very high-speed, high-volume road.
Yep.
And I think it works well in that application, but I don't know if it would work here. So I think we're going to go ahead and pull that back off the letter.
Okay.
Mr. President, following up on just what you said on item 4, which starts on page 3, the moving over to the Route 50 extending Ward Street to Bigland Park Drive, there are actually 2 bullets there. The first bullet is convert right lane on eastbound Route 50 business from Ward Street to Civic Avenue to a dedicated bike lane, and then the next bullet below that is convert existing shoulder along eastbound 50 from Civic Avenue, Bigland Park Drive to a dedicated bike lane on a Route 50 business. That for such a short distance, that that would create terrible safety hazards. I've asked council to consider removing both of those bullets from the,
Actually, all three bullets, I guess. It's all under that main bullet that
I
says.
apologize, I meant that diamond.
You're right, right.
We're pulling the diamond off, not the
Not the
bullet
bullet,
points.
but the diamond.
oh, you're talking about the whole diamond?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Matt.
Okay.
Yes, we would like to leave the first diamond point there, extending, or converting Davis Street into right in, right out.
Right. And as you said, on the road diet, the Mount Herman Road is,
Yes,
Yeah.
so the hope is there that Davis Street will not be such a thoroughfare anymore, and we can work with the city on doing a project there to try to connect in the access from Y Middle to
Yeah.
to Mount Herman Road.
okay.
I have,
Yes.
when you get
Sure.
that,
No.
Brad. On number 6, at Warwick, they have recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the past week or so, a couple of weeks, cut the left-hand turn lane out completely. And so now they have one lane north when you turn out of Warwick, or if you're headed north on Walston Switch Road.
Okay.
Previously, they had, you could turn left from 2 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So they've cut the center lane out, what I would call the center lane. They've marked it off so you can't use it at all. And already I've experienced myself, when entering that, backups. So they've made a free lane for traffic to go eastbound. That's what they're doing now, which has helped that. But that's going to, when that college lets out, that's really going to, because what's going to happen, people are going to be backed up from that light all the way to the college exit. So the state is, I don't know whether you can address this with them or not, but when they close that center lane up, that is really going to that's going to cause a lot of confusion. Not only that, it's my understanding that across from Warwick on the the southwest corner of that intersection, there's going to be a Royal Farms built, which is going to create that much more congestion there. So I don't know if you want to talk to Mr. Brewer and find out what the reason was why they did that. And
Sure, that's going to be a temporary measure because they are doing some geometric improvements there at very similar to what they did at I believe that was Philip Morris Drive. They did some geometric improvements. I'm sorry, Tillman. Similar approach where they're going to have 2 dedicated left turn lanes, and they're also, the Royal Farms has proposed a roundabout there at the entrance of the college, and I think that's going to be a vast improvement over what's there now. So you're going to really see a great
roundabout's gonna
improvement.
be an improvement.
Yes, yeah. So
Might have to disagree on that one.
no,
So it's going to be temporary. They're going to put
That's
that
a temporary,
they're gonna
yeah.
put that left-hand lane back in.
yeah, you've seen they're doing a lot of work on the
I
shoulders
understand.
now and trying to get in for preparation to do that dedicated double left
Okay.
movement.
Any other questions on this? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor of resolution 112-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Does that include with the
I was gonna say,
change
does
in
that need to
language?
be as amended?
Oh,
So
as
that-
amended.
amended.
Okay,
And the
sorry.
resolution needs to
Yep.
be as amended?
The
or-
resolution is
The letter
amended.
It's a letter that's being amended, so,
Yeah.
yeah, the resolution is stand as is with the understanding that the letter is amended. You're not really amending the resolution is adopting the letter, and the letter's being amended.
Okay. So is my,
Yeah, I think you're fine
okay,
with Lee's understanding that the letter that's approved is the one that's, with the bullet points taken out.
okay. All right, so let's do that one more time. All in favor of resolution 112-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the president votes aye.
Lee, I have a question. Can you find some examples where they have a roundabout that close to that size of an intersection, that busy of an
Sure.
intersection?
Sure.
To see if there's
Certainly look at it.
any, that's going to be within 100 feet or so of that intersection.
I believe they have 300 feet from the intersection where the roundabout's going to be, so we'll certainly take a look at it.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Next item for council's consideration is resolution number 113, 2014, adopting the Wycombe County Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division commodities, including recyclables audit report. Mr. Roser.
Can I have a motion to introduce Resolution 113-2014?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Roser, and I'm your internal auditor. The Office of the Internal Auditor performed an audit on the county landfill commodities, that is, recycling program. The scope was to evaluate materials produced and to evaluate internal controls. The period examined included calendar years 2011 to 2013. We discovered dropping prices, with the exception of bulk metal, along with a volume increase in cans, metal, and cardboard. Most of the county recycling revenue comes from bulk metal. Our conclusion was satisfactory on our familiar three-point scale. Additionally, we noted several findings, including a trend analysis, which is flat in the aggregate, collection locations volume evaluation, inventory, and Maryland Department of the Environment considerations. As part of this exercise, we performed some limited research on single-stream recycling. We may follow up and assist in our capacity and with council permission in evaluation of county public works projects related to single-stream. We would like to thank Henrik Wise, Rhonda Murray, Patsy Massey, Julie Milliken, and all the others who assisted with this audit. Respectfully submitted, Steve Roser, CPA. And this audit, once upon approval, will be posted on the website along with the others.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Roser?
Well, yes, sir. I'd like to ask the council to ask Mr. Roser. We were brought information regarding single-stream recycling a couple weeks ago by Mr. Beecham, and the figures, I'm just having trouble understanding all the figures, and I would like to have Mr. Roser kind of like decipher those figures for us. I mean, we're showing over the last 3 years a total of $1.1 million, and yet the other figures we had showed us that we had a loss that we were handed last week. So I'm going to ask the council if we can have Mr. Roser please maybe clarify some of these numbers for us.
Okay.
In our next session. As far as this report, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Do you want a work session on that? Do you want him to get figures and email them to us, or what?
Whichever's more convenient for you.
Okay. Steve, what do you think?
I'll be more than happy to do that.
Okay. Okay. Why don't you, if you would, just kind of email some clarification to us?
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions, comments for Steve? Okay. So we've had a motion and a second. All in favor of Resolution 113-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the president votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item for your consideration is Resolution Number 114, 2014, adopting the annual audit plan for fiscal year ending 2015, June 30. Mr. Roser.
Welcome back. Can I have a motion to introduce Resolution 114-2014?
So moved.
Second. Okay.
Thank you. My name is still Steve Roser, and I'm the auditor. Each year, this office is required to present an audit plan. This plan is based on several criteria, including audits recommended based on the FY14 risk assessment, selected audits recommended by respondents to an audit suggested inquiry, cooperation with external auditors for mutually beneficial projects, and based on observations, perceptions, and other qualitative criteria gathered over the past 3.5 years. The plan includes 5 operational audits, 5 performance audits, and several follow-up exercises. This and all audit plans represent a roadmap. Other priorities of greater concern to the county will come to the forefront during the year that may subordinate the plan, and as such, there is no guarantee that we can complete all audits listed here. Be assured, however, that every attempt will be made to complete the program. The committee and I wish to thank the council for consideration of our annual audit plan. Look forward to working with management in this effort to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our county government. Respectfully submitted, Steve Roser, CPA, and I will be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Okay, I think the Solid Waste Division Convenience Center audit that's planned kind of ties into what we were just talking about, and looking at that chart that showed usage. There were some that were extremely low on the chart there, so I'll be very interested to see what comes out of that audit and
Absolutely.
what you find as far as recommendations there.
It's kind of interesting, and the plan, the way it unfolded this year, a lot of these audits are related. If you actually add the projected time to complete these audits, you come in the 17 months in a 12-month year, but hopefully with overlap and doing some of these things in conjunction with each other, we'll be able to get the bulk of it done.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. All in favor of Resolution 114-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the President votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item for your council's consideration is Resolution Number 115, 2014, at the request of the executive. And I believe Mr. Baker has,
Yeah, one proposed change to the heading that Mr. Kramer was just about to read, be a resolution making a supplemental appropriation from and in fiscal year 2014. That just clarifies the contingency it's coming from and is consistent with the next resolution that you'll have as well.
So that'll be in the headline there. It'll say a resolution making some supplemental appropriation from
fiscal year 2014 contingency.
fiscal year. Okay. 2014 contingency. Okay.
In the amount of $29,739, purposes for which are explained below.
Okay.
And Sharon, Andy, Mr. Mackel is here to address this with council.
Okay. Can I have a motion to introduce Resolution 115-2014? Does this need to be as amended at this point? As amended?
Yes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thanks. Does council have any questions for Mr. Mackel?
I guess I was just concerned about the added expenses for ESG, since Mr. Roser is going to be doing an audit. I don't know if that would be part of his audit, but I thought, and I'm going back and maybe incorrect on this, but when we approved the contract, I thought there were certain expenses in that contract, and I just don't understand what, maybe you can explain the additional
Andy
expenses.
Mackel, Director of Finance. Good evening, council members. That was actually a budgeting oversight. Those expenses were detailed and identified in the contract agreement that we had signed. But during the transitions between individuals and the management of that contract, the two significant expenses were not accounted for budgeting purposes. So that is why there was insufficient money in the budget to cover the insurance premium for the bond, the guaranteed bond, and some maintenance work that was also specified in the contract.
Okay, so it was just an oversight.
It was an
not-
oversight.
It wasn't an actual
Really
increase in
lost in the
expense.
transition between managers of that contract.
Okay, and that's the $12,582.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
How about the new courthouse operating? What exactly threw that off?
They had a large HVAC repair bill.
In addition to what ESG is doing over there, you mean?
Yes, separate from ESG. The ESG did not do any HVAC work in the new courthouse. That was an existing piece of equipment that failed.
Any other questions on any of these? Okay. We've had a motion and a second. All in favor of Resolution 115-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the President votes aye.
And the next item for your consideration is Resolution Number 116, 2014, at the request of the executive, making a supplemental appropriation from fiscal year 2014 contingency to the Department 41 Hospitalization and Disability in the amount of $70,697. And Mr. Mackel is here to walk you through that need as well.
Can I have a motion to introduce Resolution 116-2014?
So moved.
Second. Okay.
The hospitalization account is where we pay based on enrollments in the healthcare program. So that budget is constructed in the springtime. passed by council in the summertime, and then the open enrollment period is in the fall. So this took place, originally budgeted before the effects of, some of the effects of the Affordable Health Care Act were clearly understood. When the open enrollment took place in the fall of then 2013, we experienced a higher number of enrollments from spouses. In addition, we had some new employees and we had some additional children who were enrolled, and this drove up the cost beyond what we had anticipated and budgeted for in FY14. So that is why we fell short on this budget line. Those considerations were incorporated into the FY15 plan, so 15 should be fine.
Council may recall that Mr. Strasburg discussed that with council during the budget cycle as to why the health insurance for 15 was markedly higher than 14, largely because of that.
And this is what our contingency fund is for.
Yes, sir.
When we need some extra money for.
Yeah, so, and I appreciate your support on that because the, June 30 has passed, and so we're making this appropriation. We know now exactly what the number is, so I can ask you for the correct amount.
Any other questions or comments?
Andy, how many people were impacted by this increase, do you know?
Let's see.
You said it's for marriages, additional children, and new spouse enrollments.
I don't have the specific number of enrollments that changed, but they are available. If you would like, we can provide them separately.
I'd like to know.
All right. We'll
You
provide
said
that.
there's an open enrollment at a certain point.
Each year in the fall?
What's the dates on that? It don't matter.
No, don't know.
It's not important.
I think it's August, isn't it?
Is it August or September? Open enrollment?
Open enrollment?
September. Yeah, so it's coming, it's
Right now?
right now.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, just a basic, with this taken out of the contingency, $100,000 tonight, what does that leave our contingency fund balance?
I think it's something above 400,000.
Just one.
Yeah, so we're done with that. And I apologize, I didn't check the exact number, but there's plenty left.
Plenty.
Plenty.
How do you say that?
But this was for FY14,
This is 14
so we're
again.
really closing out the books for the audit
We are
purposes, right?
closing the books, yes.
Okay. If there's no other questions, all in favor of Resolution 116-2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the president votes aye. Thank you.
With the modification in the budget, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Baker, we have
And I have nothing.
nothing tonight? Okay. Now it's time for public comments. If anybody has any comments to make tonight? Okay. Council comments.
Well, I would like to take this time publicly to offer my condolences to Congressman Andy Harris and his family for the loss of Mrs. Harris. So I know that's been devastating to him, and I think we're all very saddened by that.
Any other comments tonight?
Yes, I have one question for our internal auditor. I meant to ask you, Mr. Roser, with regards to the Munis audit that you will do. Are you going to have training in Munis? I remember we had mentioned that, and you sent me an email and said that that made sense to have some level of knowledge for yourself in order to provide that audit, and I meant to ask you that just a while ago.
Yes, ma'am. It is on the radar. I've reached out to the HR director, Michelle Ennis, who's got me on the list for training this year. I believe they're going to Atlanta in May.
Okay, good. I was just wondering, because I know that's a part of a process that you want to do with your audit, and just, I figured the more knowledge you have, the better you provide knowledge to the other departments if necessary.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. And just one last item, just, not for you, I'm sorry, Mr. Roser. Just wanted to say thank you, everybody on council, for your prayers and support for my son while he was in Johns Hopkins. He is doing much better, was able to start school, and we'll be visiting the cardiologist next week. So thank you again.
That's That's good to hear.
Yes.
Any other comments by council? Okay, and I don't have any tonight, so at this point, could I have a motion to adjourn, followed by an open work session on Resolution 103-2014 for the Public Housing Agency's 5-year plan, open work session on Resolution 117, 2014 for the PPA and the Performance Guarantee Agreement with Solar City, and then followed by a closed work session on litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. 5-minute break, yep.